service of the NTA.
It's a beautiful Sunday morning to you viewers. You're welcome to that program which takes you on a jolly good ride into a new week, talking about morning ride. I am Ololade Adeniji Adele, and this morning we're going to be talking about the physically challenged. Yes, we seem to look down on them with pity and sometimes even scorn. What exactly, should we do with them? Being physically challenged, does that mean it's the end of is the end of one's life? And to share, some discussions on this, I have with me Barrister Promise Asikpo. We'll be discussing the issues of the rights of the physically challenged. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you
Thank
again.
you very much.
Okay, the physically challenged, what are their basic rights in the society?
Yeah, really lining this to the right to employment.
Yeah, maybe before we go to the right to employment, basically what are the rights of a physically challenged person? Does it mean that because the person is physically challenged, that's the end to his or her life?
No, they have equal rights with every other citizen in Nigeria. Okay, on any part of the world. They have right to freedom, right to equality, right to non-discrimination, and right to security.
Now, coming to the issues of employment, it's often been seen that, once employers of labor notice that somebody is physically challenged, there seems to be this aversion, for them. Even when the person perhaps suffered an accident while in the line of duty, you can be so sure 90% of the times that the person is going to lose his job, after that accident. What exactly are the rights?
That is a flagrant breach of the rights of the person involved, of the physically challenged person involved. First of all, I would like to say that, okay, as while the companies, the corporations infringe on these rights, they also, in some ways, also feel that this person should be pitied individually.
Yeah.
They give arms and all those things. But I want to restate that the most important form of rehabilitation that should be given to the physically challenged is the access to meaningful employment. Okay, the access to meaningful employment ensures that the disabled person, in quotes,
yes,
because they are not actually disabled,
yes,
because the real disability is that of the mind and not of the physical body. Okay, so the major thing that's supposed to be guaranteed to them is the access to meaningful employment, because this ensures that they have individual self-dignity, self-worth, in the sense that these persons also contribute their faculties.
Yeah.
Okay, they engage their faculties in contributing to the needs of the society. Okay, as a return, they get wages, income, which they use in sustaining themselves and their families. Okay, so the most important thing that is supposed to be guaranteed is that right to access, equal right to access to employment. Okay, and that gets to in line with the policy of the Constitution, as enshrined in section chapter 2, section 17, sub 1 and 3 of the 1999 Constitution, which employs the state government, federal government, and all arms of government to ensure that they get the government policy towards ensuring that every citizen, without discrimination on any group, against any group, has equal opportunities to secure jobs and livelihood in the country.
That's what the Constitution
That's what the
says.
Constitution says. But unfortunately, there's an argument which is true as it is, that that particular chapter of the Constitution is not enforceable.
Okay.
Its fundamental objective is not enforceable.
Why?
Yes, that part is not enforceable. It's part of the jurisprudence issues. Okay, but I always say that that particular provisions is the main basis for which governments and any administration is supposed to be assessed.
Okay.
Okay, and some countries have actually gone ahead of us. Countries like India, which was in the same situation with us, but now they've actually moved ahead. What the Supreme Court of India, while going through a plethora of cases there,
yes,
what they have done is that if they see it, the right to work,
yes,
which is under that particular chapter of the Constitution,
yeah,
and the right to life are so interwoven, such that while the right to life is enforceable,
yes,
okay, they also tend to reason that the right to work is also enforceable, because the right to life without the meaningful employment, it defeats the purpose, the essence, yes, of the right to life. Yes. So they also enforce it. And the good thing is that with the amendment to the Constitution in Nigeria, the National Industrial Court of Nigeria can make rulings in employing and adhering to international best practices. And in Nigeria, we can now have favorable judgment for the disabled persons who have been discriminated upon.
Let's come down to the basics here. without deceiving ourselves,
Yes.
a physically challenged person is to an extent limited in what he or she can do, in terms of gainful employment.
Okay. The tax
Now,
side,
yes,
yeah.
how do we marry this together with the fact that, the physically challenged person has to work, but certain kinds of,
Okay,
jobs?
interestingly, there are job descriptions, job tasks
Yes.
that are very compatible with the status of a disabled person. For instance, jobs like lecturing, secretarial management, administration, jobs that tax the mind,
Not the
really
body.
the body.
Okay.
Not necessarily using your physiological components. Okay, these jobs are compatible with the status of a physically challenged person. And to me, the truth is that this physically challenged person may actually be the best for the job. Why? Because they are less distracted. A job that requires research,
Yes.
a physically challenged person who may not be moving around left, right, center,
Yes.
can actually focus and deliver.
Okay.
There are a lot of physically challenged persons in the world who are achievers. Okay, someone like the former president of America, President Franklin Roosevelt,
Yes.
was physically challenged. A greater part of his tenure at the house, the
Yes,
White
the
House,
White House.
he was on wheelchairs
Yes.
because of the polio he suffered from childhood,
Yes.
and he was one of the best presidents of America. So at the moment, what I would say is that Nigeria is losing greatly because of the fact that we have not utilized the potentials that is innate in these persons. And we cannot achieve the 2020 vision
Development
if
goals.
we do not incorporate these people. There must be an integration, and there must be an action plan by the government, by corporations, by companies, by individuals, by co-employees who are not disabled.
Yeah.
We should be able to accept these persons and grant them their full rights. That is the only way we can have this done.
Which brings me to the issue of co-employees.
Yes.
Oftentimes, it looks like the co-employees are also as guilty as the employers of labor,
That is the
in
problem.
discrimination against the physically challenged, in the society and in their places of work. What should the co-employees do to ease the psychological burden of the physically challenged? Because usually when the colleagues are oftentimes seen to be pitying them and sometimes even discriminate against them, thereby making life psychologically difficult for these people.
Socially, I would first of all say that is ignorance on the part of the co-worker, and it's suffering from the general prejudice that exists in the community. So they need an reorientation, but it must be sounded that is a breach of the rights of the physically challenged person.
Okay.
So if when that is done, he has a right against the person, okay, and it's enforceable. Then I also want to state that just for purpose of coexistence,
Yes.
there are certain policies that companies should do. For instance, it should be mandatory that companies should, in their designing their physical structures, they should make provision for easy accessibilities to the physically challenged. We have in Nigeria we have most companies that have steps, but they don't have slopes that can be accessed by the physically challenged.
Yes.
That should be enforced. The architects, the civil engineers who design this stuff should be able to know that they must provide for the physically challenged. That is a way to promote this, and by that they can have access to all facilities, government, private, and any other part of the country.
Now, in case of the breach of the right of a physically challenged person, what are the steps that such people can take to ensure that they get their dues from their employers?
First, like we already said, there are a lot of organizations that are there to assist them. Well, they already have the organization. They have like Center for Citizens with Disability in Nigeria.
Okay.
They can channel their grievances through them. Those organizations may have lawyers, legal aid lawyers who can fight their cause. Okay, they can actually, if there is an abuse, physical abuse, that's a crime, it can be reported to the police.
Okay.
The other means, but rather than actually focusing on those areas, I want to enlighten Nigerians, because the major challenge we have is that there is bias in information.
Yes.
People don't actually know these potentials.
Exactly.
Even for the company, okay, there's a current act. It was promulgated in 1993,
Okay.
the Nigerian with Disability Decree 93, now an act. In that decree, there was a provision, okay, that companies who employ disabled
Physically
persons will be given 15% tax
exemption. Wow.
15% tax exemption.
Wow.
And government on its own reserves 10% of his funds and training of his labor force and training funds for disabled persons. Unfortunately, I don't actually know how
if it's been
that is in practice.
Yes.
But, yes, but to be on the positive, as a progressive Nigeria, I do believe that the federal government and the state governments on these various of Nigeria are sensitive, and they are going to take steps to ensure that the rights of these physically challenged will be protected. Fantastic. And we offer ourselves. I am a member of the campaign for labor justice reform.
Yes.
If they need our services, I will offer myself to ensure that we guide them to achieve an improved policy for the.
Fantastic.
Yes.
And free of charge?
Yeah, if the federal government so deems fit or the state government. But I want to give an assurance to the physically challenged in Nigeria. Next month, by the 3rd of December, it's going to be the International Day for the Disabled Persons. We pray that Nigerian government and every other stakeholder are going to implement the rights of the physically challenged. I want the situation where the president of this country and the state governors by January 1st will make an announcement that will favor the physically challenged.
All right. Thank you very much, Barrister Promise Asikpo. We've been discussing about the rights of the physically challenged in our society, and with particular reference to the issues of employment. Once again, I thank you for being part of the show. Okay, and with that discuss, we've come to the end of the Jolly Good Ride today on the program Morning Ride. We hope we've been able, to kind of begin your week on the best note possible. Please join us again same time next week for another Jolly Good Ride. Till then, go out there and have a fantastic week ahead of you. Bye-bye.